Okay, so being 5:05, I'll open the meeting. We had a couple of changes to to what we thought we were going to talk about tonight, but I just will start with, did everybody get a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
That were distributed?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we can just jump right to that, and if somebody wants to make a motion to approve the minutes of October 4th and November 11th, unless there's a reason why we need to separate them. Was anybody unavailable for either one of those two meetings? That I can't remember.
I was absent at one, but I can.
So, just do them
We'll do them
individually.
separately then. So if somebody wants to make a motion for the October 4th minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for October 4th, 2022.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
And no opposed, and one abstention with John.
I'll also make a motion to accept the minutes for November 10th, 2022.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Unanimous. Okay, good. I know we have a pretty short agenda tonight, but I noticed Sarah's in the room, so welcome, Sarah. What, you want to just let me know what you're interested in, and maybe we could jump ahead and see what we could get going with you?
I'm just interested in what you have on your agenda,
Okay.
the networking. Just wanted to.
Yeah, no
put,
worries at all. I just didn't I didn't know if you had something you wanted to present.
No,
or-
I mean, I got a lot of things we can talk about, but, but that in particular
Okay.
is what I'm here for, so. I can
All right, great.
just
You don't have to sit off back there, you can sit up here, part of the discussion. All right, I just didn't know if there's anything specific you wanted to talk about. I wanted to make sure we didn't make you sit there all night.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can go right to the first order of business with the networking event, which Patrick, you told me, you thought we ought to revisit that when we.
Yeah,
you
so,
go ahead.
well, I know we had a discussion with Harry, I believe it was the October meeting when we initially brought up the topic. It was a meeting or an event that the EDC has been part of in the past, I think before COVID. Ended up, I guess, postponing it just due to the timing and wanting to make sure we have enough time to spread, advertise it properly, reach as many local businesses as we can. Think of the venue, think of the kind of the agenda for it. Sarah and I have also talked in a separate meeting, just on a different matter, about Destination Downtown and how we can kind of bring that together from from a planning standpoint of when we want to have the event. And obviously, Harry, your guidance with everything the chamber does is huge. I know you guys do a lot of good networking events there as well. So I initially want to kind of bring it up just as a discussion item in terms of when do we want to plan a date, probably in 2023. Thinking of a venue, thinking of kind of like a set criteria. I know some of the previous criteria involved, having department heads, especially those involved with like the permitting stage, be available to meet business owners, operators, available for questioning. But I guess trying to more or less flesh out how the breakfast would go or how the morning would go. I don't know if that's something either Sarah or Harry, I don't know if you have anything on that.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
as far as picking a date goes, I've always felt like a Thursday morning is best.
Okay.
And starting at 7, not necessarily starting the meeting itself, but that's put the time that we post, and maybe first speaker is 7:45 or something.
Okay.
In the past, it was usually a morning, it's always, well, historically, it's been a morning meeting where people get there early, hear some stuff, do what they're doing, and then get to work by 9:30, get them out at 9.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking first speaker starts at 7:45. The first 45 minutes is just general networking and, like we said, meeting some of the department heads, grabbing their business card or some information that's new, I guess, or up to date. And we'll have 2 or 3 guest speakers. Typically we have somebody that will speak on maybe HR-related issues that are new for the year. I can't remember, I had a couple other thoughts on who else would be good speakers, but maybe somebody local to Walpole as well. And then I'll think about a third as far as something else that will offer some type of benefit to the business owners and people that are there.
Okay. Sarah and I mean, we talked about this almost
Yes.
like marketing.
Yeah,
might be
so
an- an
we
interest.
had the idea, just from talking to a lot of, business owners and stuff, doing various surveys and things like that, especially when I talked to them during the Rapid Recovery program. And once I mentioned, like, there's a possibility to have, like, help with marketing or, advertisement, this kind of thing, like, almost 100% people are like, oh, who wouldn't want help with marketing? So I thought if we could have some kind of speaker that could, give the business owners kind of tangible information, or at least a connection that maybe they could hire somebody later, or, bounce ideas off of, or a resource, I thought that might be, like, something appealing to businesses. So I'd really, the whole event, we want to be beneficial and everything, but I would like the speaker to be like a particular draw, and we thought maybe that might be appealing to small business owners.
Is that somebody from, like, the State House type of thing? Or is that more somebody that's a privately held company that offers those services?
Yeah, like a privately held, and that person or persons hasn't been identified. It would be great to have someone that already does business in Walpole, or, at least somebody that definitely could do business in Walpole. So that persons hasn't been identified.
Sarah, in the past, coming from an industry that has, I think we spend half our lives in these type of events sometimes, especially in high tech, and it's very important to have something relevant, as you say, that could help the business. So if we're dealing with local small businesses, obviously, there is no ability for most of them to have big marketing departments, so I love that idea. However, I've always found that if we can bring in, and I say we, the collective we, can make sure that there's going to be a decent size audience there,
Yeah,
you can get a company that is trying to win the business
yeah,
to actually sponsor the event and give them the right to speak at the event and try to gain either clients or at least some mind share.
sure.
So that might be a way to look at it as well. It's very difficult to have because it is an opportunity for whoever the speaker is going to be, right? So it's very difficult to have any kind of entity like this, or the chamber or economic development, choose someone, because it's a big opportunity.
Yes,
So I think that if we went down the road of trying to find a sponsor for the event, and that gives them the right to speak, which is normal, and it's just part of business. I think, maybe you were gonna say that anyway, but I just wanted to throw that in, that's the way you're gonna get what I think would be a better presentation, because they're trying to show their expertise in a general sense, not just talking about their business.
yeah,
Almost like here's how you really want to do it as a small business, and oh, by the way, here's what we do. That
Yeah,
type of thing. So
yeah.
education, and if you need more help,
100%. I would want whatever speaker to actually give them, some information, like not, give away their whole business for free,
Right.
but give them something, and then definitely, yeah, it's an opportunity for Walpole businesses to potentially hire that person or firm, so.
If I may, and I'm not sure, Harry, maybe you can answer this. Does Chamber already kind of do a marketing type thing for the collaborative of your people in there? Or is this something that you're kind of looking to do to the individual business owner, as opposed to as a group to drive downtown, or to drive an individual business, or just, Has Chamber in the past done that?
Like education
No,
programs?
like done a collaborative of advertising and marketing for like the whole downtown and all the businesses in the town and that type of thing, and maybe the businesses chip into the collaborative to kind of do something, as opposed to them, everybody out there on their own,
I guess my quick answer would be no. And we don't, like I'm on the board on the Destination Downtown as well. And like I do most of the stuff that comes through the chamber is gonna be for the whole of town of Walpole, not just downtown. So, when you talk about marketing initiatives, we've got our Facebook page and we've got our website. I think the best example of marketing, though, would be when a new business joins, we announce that on our Facebook page that has about 4,000 followers, which is pretty huge. And like, say, the Greek restaurant got over 7,000 impressions, because I'll post it and then post it to a bunch of other pages. So they were just overwhelmed, and they've been doing great. So I would say, marketing initiatives are all focused on social media at this point.
But as individual businesses, not as a collaborative, like,
do we
they don't
just
have all the restaurants
marketing
come
the
out and do a
chamber?
big thing, and the
No.
retail do a big thing, and the service industry do a big thing, and,
No, we've never done anything like
We
that.
can, should.
I don't know.
That would be great.
I don't, I was kinda asking that, cause I didn't know if the businesses are interested in doing something
Right,
like
like
that.
you could
Or
say
if
if we-
you've tried it and it hasn't
Like,
worked.
As a micro marketing segment, we would do like a restaurant week or something like that. But we haven't done that, no. I mean, a lot of the restaurants may or may not be interested in something like that. But no, we have not done that. We just, on a monthly basis, we do networking events that are for our members.
But that's mostly in-house type.
Correct.
Than advertising to surrounding towns or
Right.
getting out to that type of thing, which I don't know what a small business would be looking for, whether they'd be looking to join a consortium and get the word further out, or looking for individual stuff to get the word locally to their people better.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of something that each individual business, could benefit from. But, I mean, separately, we are exploring other options about, like a directory and kind of, downtown central, marketing and help for those businesses. And I just wanted to say, this event that we're hopefully gonna do is for all of Walpole. It's not just downtown, so it's all Walpole-wide.
Well, that's why I like to see the event to get a better feel for what people really are looking for, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's great to say, and we can refer, some local marketing team, and I have a name in my head, but, I'd have to approach them. But my big thing is get them at this with the town and realize, and then determine, is it a town initiative? Is it someone to recommend to them initiative as part of this event, right? I'd like to hear more from these small businesses of what they'd really be looking for, right?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Pat and I talked about using this opportunity to really have a dialogue with business owners, and having like a Google form or something to really collect data, and so that we can, strengthen that relationship, and really we'd like to help them, however they need the help, but we need to, have that dialogue and develop those relationships.
I know that's something, we had this discussion a while ago, but I think that was maybe something done at the last one, and back before COVID, was there also an opportunity to kind of get information from attendees from the town standpoint in order for us to kind of, plan better, or?
We didn't take any survey or anything like that.
Maybe it's a good opportunity, I guess, I just speaking from the town, I mean, maybe that's a good opportunity for us if we can
Who else has
incorporate
ever
that.
been to one of these?
I have,
You've been when it was
yeah.
Walpole Country Club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I've
several of
gone.
them.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that draws people is it's free bacon, all you can eat. That's always been the big seller.
Yeah.
But the free food thing gets people there in the morning.
Yep.
But again, updated information when it comes to zoning.
Yep.
Permitting, I think, has always been the case. Two, offering something educational. The marketing, the multimedia thing should be a good opportunity for people will listen to. Because that's where it all is now.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I'm not sure, but we still want to address or offer the business of the year again, and the new business of the year. That's something that we used to do through the EDC.
How did that work before in terms of just selecting that business?
I've decided.
Okay.
No, we had it,
I presented them, I think.
you presented them, yes,
Yes.
but we actually took an ad out in the Times or in the newspaper and asked people to submit them. and some people were submitted. We did it through Facebook, through website, submit them and get them in. So it actually came in. That was kind of back with, Stephanie. Liz didn't really do much of that. But
Well, they have that thing in the newspaper, the hometown.
Weekly?
Whatever, yeah, they have,
They have a
best
rating
dry
thing.
cleaner,
Yeah.
best daycare, whatever.
Best of the
like-
best, yeah.
Yeah.
But the other thing which, just to kind of set off, I know here on the agenda it says business networking event. I kind of didn't feel like what we were doing was networking. I think we were more informational. I think we were trying to bring in state people and get information out to them. There was obviously networking going on, but we weren't geared to do networking and, this up. But it was more to get information out there to the people through the guest speakers. And then the reason we were having the event too was to let business owners ask the town questions on what we can do, how we can streamline and get things better, and how to go about this and that. And that was the big thing of having department heads there and ready to answer questions if anybody asked questions. So it was, I don't want to get confused with it being another networking event, which is what Chamber does a lot.
Yeah, retitling that might be something that
Yeah.
would better serve us.
Do you think the networking is not beneficial? Like, do
No,
you
I think
it's
it
better
is,
to
but I
do
think
the-
we're just
We're trying to-
piggybacking,
Yeah.
we're just doing the same thing Chamber's doing already,
Okay,
which,
Yeah, like retitling it, because it's just another networking event, right? Or
yeah,
Walpole Business Forum,
Forum.
educational something.
we haven't
yeah,
had
we
it
can
for a while
call it
because of COVID.
whatever, I
We
just
haven't had
want
it
it
in
to
3
be.
years. I think we might have dropped the year before.
Find a good name.
Yeah.
Throw breakfast in there somewhere.
Definitely, yeah.
Free food event.
Yeah, free food event. Yeah.
All right, so we'll work on that.
You do have good attendance at your networking events, and maybe that's how to get the people out there, but we've always, you've been to them, you agree, right? It's kind of been more of an informational thing
Oh, yeah,
than a networking thing?
yep.
Like the Walpole Business Breakfast kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll work on the title.
Well, I'm gonna be a devil's advocate.
Of course you are.
I'm all for doing and going full on into anything that I think would be helpful to the businesses of Walpole. We've talked about this many times over the last couple of years, actually, and it's been on the agenda quite a bit. And it seems to have a hard time kickstarting or getting a lot of interest for action from the members of the group. It seems to linger, and then it's on the agenda again, and we talk about it, and then it lingers again, and we talk about it again. And then all of a sudden, a year and a half goes by, and we still haven't had one. Now, granted, I understand that we had a lot of disruptions in between with COVID and whatnot, but I think the most important thing is, are we really committed to this, or should we be thinking of it in more of a broad sense, where maybe we put together a series of, we'll work with the Chamber and work with Destination Downtown to do a series of, quote, networking events that may include a specific 15-minute presentation by a professional marketer. And then the next time, professional tax person, what's new this year? And then the third one of the year, it's whatever you want it to be. Then they're coming not only to network, but they're gonna learn something before they leave, and the person that gets to speak at this event has the opportunity to gain clients. And unfortunately, it doesn't have to be that person who comes in and is the advisor, if you will. Might not be a Walpole business, but it might be one of the best people in the industry that Walpole businesses can benefit from. I think, and again, I don't speak for everybody, but I think I would be more inclined to see to attend a series of, let's say, 3 of these events that had specific knowledge base for each one that was different, that would draw these people in, but then they would also get to network, as opposed to one big event that even we're having trouble defining what that event is. Now, again, I understand, I seem to always feel like I'm the negative person that wants to just throw a wrench in it, but I also don't want to spend a lot of time and cycles with people that don't really have a lot of time and cycles once we leave this room. We have time if it's important, and every one of us has shown that we're willing to do it if it's an important thing. So I want to make this an important thing, and I would, if I was going to attend one of these things, I would have to think that not only was I going to be able to network with some local friends and businesses that I know, or maybe get to meet new ones, but that I was also had the potential to learn something that I didn't know that could help my business. And if we launch it as a series, that people can say, oh, that again, you know, we might only, let's say we have, just for fun, we have 100 companies that we target, right? Could be many more, but I'm just using that as an easy number. So with our marketing, maybe we get 50 the first time, and 25 of them thought it was really great. And they start telling people that it was great. So those 25 are gonna come back to the next one, but we're gonna get the other 50 that weren't there. And then 50 of those people might say that was really great. And then the third one, we might get the full 100 people. And sometimes people aren't going to learn something new, but they don't know that until they attend. And I think that's the way, if we really wanted this to be a successful program, I think that's the way I would want to go about it. Now granted, we might be, you know, because we have the infrastructure in place, or at least the feeling of it with what the chamber already does, I think we might be able to turn those into something, maybe either piggyback off that or partner with the chamber to do a series of these networking events with a knowledge or a learning component. So that's my thought on it.
If I may, just, I understand what you're saying here. I think where EDC got lost on it was because we didn't have any directors to actually go through and do the legwork. And we were going through directors at that point in time, and then COVID hit.
Every month.
That's kind of why it really did get dropped. And then what you're saying about networking and things like that, I agree with. But the thing that we had with doing what we're doing with this breakfast was a time constraint. And time was tough, and that's why it was, remember, it was like the speaker would get right up, the speaker would go, there'd be a couple questions afterwards, go, because most of the owners want to get out and go back to their businesses and things like that. I think if you're gonna have a sit-down network event, it can't be a breakfast. I think it's gotta be an afternoon thing where it can linger on
or
and
an
people have
evening,
time to
yeah,
do it.
yeah.
So maybe what we're looking to do is a breakfast isn't what we wanna do at all.
Well, I don't know, I'm throwing it out there, again, I've never, these breakfasts were before my time. That's how long ago we did them, so, I mean, I feel like I've been here for almost ever, so I've never been to one.
Before our time, how old are you?
Well, before my time here,
Oh, at EDC.
at EDC, not before my time ever.
Again, we've got the timers from 7 to 7:45. If you're a smart business person and you do want to meet a connection or you want to network, you show up early and you look through the room, and in any networking event, your main goal is to walk away with, say, 3 cards and meet 3 people that's important to your business. So if you're smart enough, you're there for hanging up coffee, having your breakfast, you sit down, you get up, you go talk to somebody, and that's it. I mean, how many people are you gonna network with, you know? And so it's really, the goal is to meet, I mean, my goal is one person. If I can walk away with one card that is, might be advantageous to my business or become a client, that's great. That is something of value. If I get something of that and I walk away,
yeah.
that's something of value. So having that time of 7 to 7:45, I think works in the networking world.
I'm not talking about the specifics of this event.
Right, but then having a series, again, we've been trying to do this for
We'll have
5
to do
years,
one
and now
first.
all of a sudden you want to do a series. The series can continue
wanna
into
have
the
a
chamber.
plan, that's
The
all.
series can continue into the chamber as we
Yeah.
do more networking and educational seminars. But again, I just think, and then, so again, somebody on HR is always important. Having the multimedia company, somebody speak on that for marketing. And then third would be like Senator, who's our senator again? Rush. Senator Rush come in, or one of the state reps, and talk about what's going on in the State House. Even potentially, I think we've had somebody from the EDC in the state to come too, if they're available. Those would be the 3 good ones.
Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, so, I mean, to your point, before COVID or whatever, we talked about having some kind of meeting like this quarterly from Destination Downtown. And so I think that's our ultimate goal, and, you know, we'd love to partner with you all in the chamber and things. But maybe what we can do for '23 is just, you know, commit to 2 So one in, let's say, you know, March, and then we'll do one in the fall. So like 2 networking events, and then, I mean, I think we should be engaging with people at least quarterly at some event. I think
Remember,
that's-
you're using the word networking, and I think what they're talking about, networking is a component of that, but I
Yeah.
think it's a much,
Maybe we do this one.
Bigger thing.
The EDC is the business forum, right? And that happens, we'll try to hopefully make it every February now. But then in the fall, maybe just we collaborate,
Yeah,
DD and Walpole Chamber, and have our own thing.
yeah, I mean,
Just
we
too
can
much,
do it. I mean, we should be careful about planning too much also, like, you know, the 3 speakers and the breakfast and the permitting and the, you know, like, we wanna have, you know, something beneficial for busy business owners to know they're gonna come in, they're gonna, you know, meet some people, they're gonna get their question about their permit answered, they're gonna, you know, get some information, and they're gonna move on with their day. So having it, I mean, maybe we can, I don't know, maybe we can have 3 speakers, but we should be like a tight schedule, I think, to, you know, be respectful for everyone's time.
just think that times have, and I could be naive with this, but I think that where we are in 2023 is different than where we were even 5 years ago with the information that's available to small business owners now, just by sitting at their desk. I don't believe that a small business owner needs to go anywhere to learn something factual. Here's how you deal with the permitting, here's how you deal with this, but if it was something that was more objective, something that was, hey, some people market like this, some people market like this. Let me show you what's been successful over the last 18 months, not the way we did things 5 years ago or 4 years ago or even yesterday in the town. Again, that can be beneficial for some people, and I'm not minimizing that. But I'm assuming we want to have more small business owners to show up to this thing than just a handful that have to deal with the town on a regular basis. And again, I'm not saying I don't want to do this, because I do. I think it would be fantastic. I just want to make sure that we don't have one and then never get another person to show up again, because that's the worst thing that we could have happen. It's not beneficial to, if it's not beneficial to them the first time, it'll be a hard sell to get them back again. So that is my only caution. Now, I'm gonna put John Shelby on the spot here right now, because John, when I think of who we're trying to get to attend this event, it's primarily the John Shelbys of the world that we want there. A successful small business owner that deals with customers on a daily basis, but also has to deal with growing their business. There's a retail and a service and a real estate aspect to what you do, so you could benefit by a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
What would make you come to an event like this? What would make you feel compelled to go?
I think all the ideas are really good. I think we're overthinking it, to tell you the truth. I think we're beating the horse dead. I think keeping it short and sweet. People, however you form the event, people are gonna network regardless. So I think forming it as an informational event, like a Walpole business event, something like that. Have some speakers that are have quick bullet points, that have some powerful items like tax changes, HR changes, something like that. And like Harry said, people will find each other in the room to seek each other out. So you don't have to advertise it as a networking event, but networking will take place.
Right, okay? And knowing that it was gonna be clear, concise, quick, what don't I know, what's different from last year, and then obviously the opportunity to have breakfast and
Here's the event,
network. Yeah.
you're getting free breakfast. These are the 3 areas we're gonna hit. Senator Rush is gonna speak. We're gonna have a tax consultant there. We're gonna have an HR person go over some changes in these areas. Hope to see you there. Then once we get there, hopefully those 3 individual speakers give out a nice, compelling, powerful statement and showing what changes have occurred in HR laws, tax laws, that maybe a small business owner that doesn't have the tax department, the HR department like us, so it's me, I go on Google, and kind of get some changes that we may not be aware of.
Right, and maybe get some insight on what we can do in February that's gonna make a big difference in our taxes next year, that learning that next year, when we do our taxes, not gonna do us any good.
Yeah, and if you have 3 speakers and 10 minutes of speaking, 5 minutes of questions, or even, maybe even a little less than that, and you make the event an hour and 15 minutes, you're still gonna have built-in buffers for networking.
Good, there you go. I agree with that completely. Informational on what's new, breakfast, give them time to mill around, and keep the speakers very concise, short, quick, don't bore anybody, and then, boom, you're out of there. I think that's what everybody's been saying, but I just wanted to boil it down to make sure that we knew exactly what our task was. And, thanks, John, I really appreciate
course,
that.
no worries.
Yeah, so I think that's a good plan moving forward. I think it fits in line with what everybody's been talking about, but at least now,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How is this funded?
it's a good question.
I'm just
Well,
curious, I don't know.
when we used to do it in the past, the country club would donate the room.
Double the food.
The food, I kinda did.
Okay.
I'm willing to move forward and do it again. But that's kinda how that went, and I think the country club donated everything, what, didn't they? I think they donated the service, we bought the food,
Yeah.
and I think everything was done, and that was kinda done with Ken Fedek. Ken Fedek had a real close relationship with the country club, and he was the guy that got it done and got the date for us and everything. I'm sure Ken would be happy to help again.
Do we even make a motion? If there's no money spent by EDC, do we make a motion for this, or just work with?
Well, if
DD?
there is some overhead or above expenses other than food, maybe doesn't the EDC have some money to spend on something?
I have $1,200 left in the account.
Yeah, not a
That's
lot.
after the
So
the concert series and everything?
That's different.
that's different, yeah, that's through,
But that doesn't mean that that could not be something we think about.
I mean, I'm talking, whatever, $500 maybe.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but I was
No.
wondering, just to get the ball rolling, if we spend money, I'm assuming we have to take a vote on that? But if we don't spend money, we can just give it the verbal approval and move forward.
I mean, I'll get some estimates or quotes on what some things might cost if we're, like, we'll find out what the food cost is.
Look, if we can get, if we decide on the venue and let's say it's Walpole Country Club, and they decide that they want to continue to do what they've been doing, great. I certainly would not want Danell to continue funding the food. So, because I don't think that's appropriate for you, Danell. Much appreciated, but not appropriate.
Destination.
You are not a town-funded entity, correct?
Correct, we are an
Destination Downtown,
independent,
you're private.
nonprofit, 501c3.
Okay, so through what we've discussed and kind of like the unofficial ground rules that we've discussed for the Main Street Live proceeds, we could fund parts of what Destination Downtown wants to do without going against any of the protocols that we've put in place, correct?
Yeah, I mean, EDC, we've always said in the past, even though going through the Friends of St. Patrick's, that EDC controls what happens with it.
And we're a nonprofit too, so.
Okay. All right, so I think that we could probably, I don't want to get into any specifics right now, but I think that at least from a 50,000-foot level, I think that's something that we could work with, right?
And who does the legwork of marketing it? Is that you do, Susan, or?
I mean, we'd like to work with everyone, but, yeah, I mean, I really think to make it successful, you have to go like almost door to door and, have personal interactions
See, in
with
the
as
past,
many,
it was always our EDC director did it,
yeah.
you know?
I mean, the more people that can go out and, get folks, the information about the event, I think the better attended it's going to be.
I think part of the reason when we had that initial discussion about holding off in November was just, what's the adequate time for providing notice to businesses? I tended to think like a month. I don't know if that's excessive or not, but I guess that was another reason, just to figure out, once
2 months.
the agenda is set
We
up,
have
2
to
months.
Find the speaker.
Yep.
Find the place, and then you can start.
Yep.
Advertising.
It doesn't preclude you from doing keep this on your radar screen, more information to come, and then.
Yeah, save the date kind of thing. Sure.
The other thing we need to think of, I think if we're gonna jump into it, is too, I know in the past when we did it, let's say 7 or 8 years ago, when Stephanie was doing it and things like that, she had a list, and I think most of the stuff she did was through email.
Yep.
And I think we kind of built that list up for the 3 or 4 events we had. And that's how that list got built up. But
Yeah.
we really did, filled the room of 80, didn't we? Or 80 or 90 people, I think it was there. Maybe it was 9 tables of 10 that was set up there. So if we go further and go and hit the business list that we have with all those emails, and now, I'll bet you Stephanie didn't bang on 100 doors, you know? But there's 800 doors out there to bang on.
Yeah.
That we really have to think of what venue and what type of response we're gonna get back. Because if we go big, that you guys wanna do, then we're going at those 800 names. We might have a venue that maybe holds 200 people, which the country club wouldn't work. So we gotta figure that out.
I don't think
I don't think
we're gonna have that issue.
That'd be a good problem to have, but I'm
No, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
well,
We
well,
talked
that depends on how big you wanna market it, because I'm sure
Yeah.
you can go back to those original names, and those 80, 90 people will show back up again.
So one of the ways I guess you could do that is however you do the marketing material, maybe you try to have like an event link, or was it Eventbrite? Is one of the
Yeah.
platforms where
Yeah.
someone would essentially sign up or be, register for
Yeah.
the event, to attend the event. At least that way you can keep track of, all right, who's actually coming, not just I'm sending emails out to nobody.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we'd want to do that, so we
Plus, it
know
might be,
who's
it
coming.
might be some, even though we do have speakers, it might be somewhat of a rolling crowd as well. You might have people that come in for breakfast, and then they're out before the speaker comes on. More people come in, they stay for one speaker, they might hit the road prior to it ending.
Most of them stay for the.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we didn't really see it.
Come early and then
It
stay
goes
for
so
the whole
quick.
thing? Does it? Okay.
Because even though you got a 7 o'clock start, and those of you that wanna network, it's a small amount of groups show up then. And then, I don't know, did they start serving, Harry? I think it was like 7:30 they started serving breakfast. So everyone was kinda up and out of line by the guest speaker at 7:45. And then the guest speakers went at 7:45 to 8, 8 to 8:15, 8:15 to 8:30, and 8:30 to 9 was just question and answer.
Okay. Well, I think that we have a good foundation now. I think it is important to move forward with it. Well, no matter what well, obviously, Sarah, knowing you for as long as I have, I know that, and Harry, I know that the best foot forward is gonna happen. So we'll do the best we can and see how it works out, and figure out what we did right, figure out what we did wrong, and then do it again. And until it becomes something that people start to, put on their own calendars, which is the ultimate goal, right?
So one of the items I guess I just put in this was possible, subcommittee appointment, and that's only just because to avoid open meeting law quorum, I don't know if there would be a contingent of the EDC that could work with myself, Sarah, and Harry, on additional planning that needs to get done, and they can bring that back to the EDC for follow-up meetings. Just because, to
So-
avoid,
Do you think we should put together a subcommittee with?
There's one person you,
Like one or
Even
two
just
people
one
from
person,
EDC.
volunteer.
One or two from EDC?
I'll volunteer.
yeah, one or two, all right.
John, anyone else want
I'll
to,
try
from
this.
EDC?
dynamic duo over
Yeah,
here.
there
you
you
and
go.
I.
All right. So,
So, oh, go ahead.
go ahead, no, you go ahead.
So I just, before we finish the discussion, are we set, we're gonna try for the Walpole Country Club? Like, does everyone think that's the best venue?
I do.
It was a good venue, and hopefully they'll donate their services again.
Okay,
New Pond Village is another option
okay.
downstairs.
How big of a room is that hold?
That's big enough,
Yeah, same size as Country Club?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Do we have a tentative
Old
date?
Raphael's won't give us the spot.
Do we have a tentative date, just so I put it on my calendar?
What's that?
Do we have a tentative date?
I
I
think we
was
said
looking at
2/7.
March, March 9th.
When's your thing?
It's always the Friday before St. Patrick's Day, but this year it's on March 17th, which is on St. Patrick's Day.
So it'll be the
That's what I
week
was
before.
thinking already.
Yeah,
So many people will commit to
The
the
ninth,
Friends
I'll
of
be
St.
there.
Patrick that they may not go to this. That's why I think February's better.
Or if they're a week apart, they won't conflict. You don't think so?
And I think there's different attendees.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
I think it's
but still,
fine to
business
be-
owners are still busy, and if they're gonna take Friday morning off or Friday afternoon, they might look at the week before and say, I can't make that too.
Friday is probably a slower month for businesses after the Christmas and
February,
January
you
stuff. I mean, February, I meant, yeah. But
I just like the
But can we
February.
pull it off in February? It's getting
Yeah.
tight.
times.
yeah, and there's school vacation week.
Ooh,
In
school vacation
February.
would definitely kill attendance.
This is the week
When's that, the
before.
week of the
That'd be
20th?
Thursday before.
Vacation?
I think so, yeah, February
Plan it a
20th.
month and a half, a month.
I don't think February gives us enough time to really do it the way we want to do
get
it.
it planned correctly and then
And then
advertised for a
have
considerable
enough
amount of time.
You know, come March, people like to get out of the house after being in all winter, so might get up more
March
likely for a
2nd?
breakfast.
Yeah, early March, I think.
March 2nd,
So that's 2 weeks from, 2 weeks separation with the St. Patrick's?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I'd say that's fine.
I would even say the 9th would be fine. I don't think that they collide that much.
And you're still gonna get your small businesses that are,
How about we put in 2nd or 9 and see
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
Walpole's availability is? Those are our 2 dates we can shoot for. And if Walpole's availability has one of the 2, there's our answer.
Yeah.
Go from there.
That's good.
and what if Walpole can't do it? What did we say? New Pond is an option? Maybe, if they have it available. And do we have any other options? What size room do we need, do you think?
I think we had
Mm.
90, and when we stopped doing it, that was our largest group, was about 90
90?
people. But that also included town people, guest speakers, that was all in the
So
count
90
too.
total.
Because everyone had a seat for breakfast.
Okay.
Let's shoot for 100, capacity. I think would be good.
I don't, 100 people?
Yeah,
I
a room
would,
that
I
can
would find
handle
out
it.
if the room holds it.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think they do, but I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Okay.
What room's that?
The main,
Oh.
the main room up on the left-hand side of the country club.
Oh,
It's not out in the tent's not up then, so it's
And you
inside
s-
the clubhouse, the function room, I guess they call it.
Somebody said the name Ken Fedek.
Ken Fedek was a board
So
member here.
Does whoever know that person? And, yeah, okay, okay. I don't know that person.
Wasn't
Okay.
he reaching out in November, or did he reach out in November? He did, and they were fine. They were fine to doing it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And you said the old Raphael's, what was the problem with them? They won't give the room away, or they don't want
That's
it at
like-
all?
They say it's wedding only
It's not
type
anymore.
of stuff. I know, that's what I told them, or asked, because I see that you've had it at other events. Nope, we're just wedding only.
They don't let the chamber go there at all anymore? No? Wow.
I mean, I'd love to give it to, chamber members, but nobody else has that space.
We
Even
also,
the hotels have no big rooms. These new hotels should have rooms, but
The,
they
the
don't.
room at
Oh, yeah.
the Whirlpool Coop's small, right? At the basement in the coop? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
small.
yeah, that's small,
we talked about the We Breeze space.
too small.
Too small, you think? 'Cause
What's
they've-
their
they've-
capacity?
they've
You
held
could probably
some-
do 100 if you had to, but it's
Yeah.
just too chopped up and great room. We're actually gonna be doing an event there in January probably.
What's Conrad's function space?
The pool room would be it.
That's
Oh,
not-
Conrad, I'm
that's
thinking
not
Napa
us.
Tanner's.
Say Nappertandy's.
The back room there, that's, it,
Is that
again, if you got
60,
10
70?
tables, they can definitely get 10 tables or 10
Yeah.
each, but it's too tight. I mean, other than that, the golf course is, I think, the best one.
It's a nice draw, too. It's a nice club.
Yeah.
And any way we can, is there any type of list for all the businesses in Walpole?
yeah,
DBA or something?
yeah, we have the DBA.
Can we get that so we can take a look at what's there
Yeah,
and what contact information
yeah,
would be
that's
there?
who I intended to use probably for
Yeah,
advertising.
because I was
Yeah.
gonna I looked at Dun and Bradstreet a couple months ago, and it was very expensive for me to just get one thing out of it. So if you guys have some type
Yep.
of resource.
Have that
It's got emails on it too.
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
contact information, yeah.
So if somebody goes through that list and set up a pretty good email list for going through.
So do we have marching orders here? Do we know what we're doing next with
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, so we have a committee, 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah,
5.
5.
Yep.
And we've got it dates, 3/2 or 3/9. And
Country club.
try it for the
Venue,
country
yeah.
club. Try there first. I'll reach out to Ken. Sorry to hear that his wife passed.
What's the room over Beacons? They have a function room up on the second floor.
Too small.
Yeah, it's too small, yeah.
And they never call you back. Anybody else got any other locations that we can think of?
No, not in Walpole.
One of the big warehouses that you might have done out in there?
I don't have any space open. What about Napatandy's basement? I mean, the
Got the
pool
pool.
room down there.
No,
No?
with all the pool tables.
I think we
Why do
should
they
start
still
with
also-
the country club and.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, start.
Worry about
If
the
they
Start
have no
there.
issue in November,
We have the details, yeah.
hopefully they won't
We're
have an
worrying
issue
about a
in
problem. There may
March.
not even be a problem.
Right.
Okay,
All right, so I
Okay.
guess we'll set up a
so
email.
you guys will
between
set
us
up
and-
your own meeting,
Great.
and
I say we put it on an agenda, is always on the agenda for an ongoing.
Yes.
Just a status update?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Just one final thought. I'd have to talk to the board, but we also likely will contribute some funds towards this event, subject to what's required.
Great, thank you, Sarah.
Okay, cool.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah.
Happy businessing.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, guys.
You'd be interested in
Thank
the
you.
next item.
Oh, I will, okay. Well, should I go in the audience then?
Whatever you prefer.
You can stay. Whatever you want, Sarah. Okay, what do we got next?
So I want to go over just a grant that I had applied for last spring for work with, it's called the Mass Downtown Initiative. They have a few different programs, I guess you can look into. The one thing that I applied for dealt with wayfinding and branding. The grant was awarded this past October, and I was able to meet with our consultant, which is assigned to us by DHCD. It's the Favorman Design company. And so what this process is, it's usually, these grants are a fairly quick 4 to 6 month process. A consultant is assigned to the town. It looks at a kind of a set scope of work and looks to provide the town with a deliverable in terms of design, fabrication costs, lists of fabricators. The process itself is, it's kind of a pretty standard thing through the Mass Downtown Initiative. They've done it for a few other towns. And so wayfinding and branding has been an item that's been brought up on pretty much every comprehensive plan that the town has done in terms of the downtown action plan, the parking and economic development plan from 2019, the local rapid recovery plan of 2021. So, and it's actually an item that's, I don't know if anyone caught one of the last select board meetings, town engineering and DPW has been working with McMahon Associates, which is a traffic engineering firm, and looking at the downtown from a circulation standpoint, as well as potential capital improvements to improve circulation, both vehicular and pedestrian. So this grant itself will at least give us the opportunity to work with a professional to really kind of hone in on what I see as really a low-cost, high visibility improvement, which is just wayfinding and branding signage. So, from gateway signage to directional signage from local landmarks. It's a great way, I guess, from a cost standpoint, that a town could really draw more attention to whether it's downtowns, business centers, and so it's looking forward to the process. Like I said, I was able to meet with the consultant last week, working on a scope of work with him now. It will likely involve probably setting up a steering committee of some sort to help with just guidance with this consultant. So he's he's technically a planner by background, but he also does work with design and obviously traffic circulation. So there's a kind of a real a thought behind it, not just here's some pretty signs and here's some images to choose from, but there's a real kind of science in terms of determining the correct location and the type of signs you want to have. So that process will hopefully begin fairly shortly. I think our goal is to finish that up before the end of the fiscal year. So right now, that's unfortunately all the information I have until I get that scope of work finalized with the consultant, and then can come back with possibility of setting up a steering committee. I'd like to have someone from EDC, possibly downtown business owners, also a part of that process, just because it's really kind of trying to create the look and the image when you come to Walpole downtown from a signage standpoint. So.
Sarah, didn't Destination Downtown already go through something like that?
We,
Fact-finding?
well, we identified that in the rapid recovery, and so we had like an extra subject matter expert talk to us about that. So yeah, I mean, it's critical, and I think, really exciting that it's happening, yeah.
Were you guys responsible for those parking signs that are around center of town right now?
I think that's all
That's you?
Pat, but
Yeah.
Nice.
we've been cheering him on.
So,
They're big, you can see them.
yeah, so those signs, what
That was
What beyond that would this be focusing on?
gateway signage.
Like, welcome to historic Walpole Center type thing?
Yeah, and
Okay.
looking at branding. So branding is, I'm not a designer, I can't really go into all the specifics with it, but you're looking at an image, a color scheme, a color pattern that really can be transferable both to, like, a pedestrian, a visitor to the downtown kind of recognize that they're in a location or a point of interest. It really kind of helps to, I guess,
How much was this grant?
25,000?
5,000?
Yeah. Consultant.
Just hurry up, because by the time we get done with what Walpole does with consultants and everything else, it'll be worth about $4,000.
Oh, in terms of the cost? Yeah.
In terms of inflation, sit in the bank for 10 months, it'll be worth $5,000. I'm just kidding you, but let's not
So,
consultant this.
Well,
to
that's
that.
the
Yeah.
thing with not going through this process, we'd be really going at this, we would have to kind of work with a fabricator to determine costs anyway.
Oh, I'm
Going-
not saying that
yeah,
it's a
no.
wrong thing,
Yep.
but I would hate to be discussing this next Christmas too, as to how we're gonna spend the 25 on the,
Oh, yeah, so
Branding.
the 25 is only
Just
for
to
technical
consult.
assistance.
yeah.
Yeah, so the grant, it's not for capital costs, that's part of the
Right, right.
program, it's only for technical assistance.
Patrick, once you got the grant, how did you move forward from that point to find a consultant?
So DHCD, the Department of Housing Department of Housing and Community Development, administers the grant program. In this particular grant program, they don't distribute the funds to the town or wire the funds to the town as some other grants work. They manage the grant funding, and so they assign you your consultant.
Oh, so that consultant came from the state?
That comes from the state, yeah.
Okay,
Political donors.
okay. So there was no search process?
There's no
anything like
search
that,
process, but
Obviously, it's his expertise.
yeah, and I mean, just looking through their
Is-
website.
Is he
it's-
employed by the state, or is he a private firm?
He's a private firm, yeah. So it's Favorman Associates.
You should be able to see other places that they've,
Yeah, that's
Impact on-
exactly what it
yeah.
is. So if you go to, Mass Downtown Initiative Program website, I think they did work for even Foxborough, Greenfield, Hadley, they've.
So it's out
gone
there,
all
though,
over.
right?
Yeah, so
Alright.
we'd be one of the, in the 40s, they've done 40 of them so far, so I mean, they've done a lot for different communities.
Yeah, but just for, like, just as any business, they want to have the brand and the logo and the identifiable,
Right.
image. This, I think, could really help Walpole and downtown, and even some businesses might, adopt some form of it as people, identify with, this is the brand for Walpole and this is, downtown. So I think it's a really positive step.
is there, when you say it like that, which I agree with, at some point, would there be some kind of a community involvement?
Yeah.
Hey, here's what we're thinking of
Yeah,
doing.
so that's part of the scope of work, so beyond just having a steering committee saying like, hey, this is it, there'd probably be an outreach opportunity or a presentation of the findings.
Okay,
Plan. Yeah.
all right, good, yeah. Can't go wrong.
Is it something that might end up even in towards zoning?
No, I
In terms of
wouldn't be
like
related.
build out and designs and stuff like that, specs for downtown area or potential business district?
Not really zoning related, no, I mean, this is really just kind of, like I mentioned, it's really, in terms of what a town can do from a visual standpoint, it's a low-cost, high-bar item. I mean, you create a visual impact with relatively, from capital infrastructure costs, signs are pretty cheap, as opposed to something that would be much more
So
expensive.
it's something that the town will implement, wouldn't be businesses or anything?
No, it'd be a town.
The home of the rebels? No? We're not allowed to say that anymore?
Timberwolves, blue
I'm
ones.
not going to
Is
support
that
that
the
one.
official logo of Walpole?
Seal,
It's
the
a
town
seal,
seal.
it's a town
Town
seal.
seal.
Yeah,
So would that be something that they would,
incorporate,
yeah? Because I'm just wondering, the
They don't
grist,
have to.
not,
the red
really
barn,
look
the
into-
grist mill, and the town hall are usually the three type of things that are associated with Walpole. But that's based on its farming and manufacturing history, so things have changed dramatically.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure what we're known for other than the prison and drinking, but it is. We have the most bars per capita, I think, than every other town.
Well, that's not true. Come on,
It
where do you
is.
come up with this stuff?
Ours per cap.
Well, first of all, we have the most percentage of Irish people in this town, so there you go.
So it has to be.
There's a few more bars up the road.
Seriously, makes a little bit of sense, right?
Right? So
No.
it is, I'll look into it.
Yeah, I mean,
Clinton, Mass
I
has
want
the
those
most bars
facts.
per capita.
I thought Norwood did at one point.
Well, the prison's gonna go away too, so,
that's true.
Norwood probably does now.
what?
The prison's going away?
Bars per capita.
you
Yeah.
didn't know that?
No.
But they,
Shortly, too.
Yeah.
it's not just looking at history, it's both looking at what the town is, they'll look at different our master plan, hopefully, they'll look at existing comprehensive plans, they'll look at
It's being
both
shut down.
just a public standpoint of talking to the steering committee, doing their own research and, presenting that to the public. So I wouldn't imagine it's gonna be take the seal and redesign it, it'd probably
I'm
be,
just wondering what their thoughts might be, if it's
Feel and put a cell
more the
tower
historic part of it or the future forward-looking.
yeah,
in the
I
background,
think that's up to us to determine.
updated.
yeah.
But I would vote for something simple,
It doesn't
like
get
not a
called.
whole lot of stuff happening, so that's just like a clear image and like, that's Walpole.
Yeah,
So Patrick, this,
Put a picture of a
this,
bunch of
this
consultants out
grant,
there.
this grant, what's the time frame on the whole thing, or what is it, where is it gonna?
looking to
get
complete it before the end of the fiscal year.
And that will just give you a recommendation to the
It's
town
gonna
to
give us-
implement?
So it's gonna give us a report, it's gonna decide probably three different, based on the scope right now, it's probably gonna give us three different design or branding styles to choose from, and it's gonna give us both, cost, estimates for fabrication of the signage, of the types of signage, and then, right now, probably a list of local fabricators to look from, to choose from.
And then will that go back to the selectmen to implement it?
In terms of implementation, we'd have to find a funding source to implement that, so that's, I can't speak to that right now,
Yeah.
exactly where that would come from.
We
At least
could be-
right,
We could be the town that hires the most consultants per capita.
You want me to Google it?
Google it.
Wherever he got his bar information.
Same website. All
Okay.
right,
all right,
you good with that?
yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's going to be very beneficial eventually. You again, zoning amendment discussion.
so, this was initially gonna be on the board's, agenda in July. We didn't end up having a quorum that meeting, so we didn't have a discussion. Since that time frame, I was able to meet with the planning board on,
December 1st.
December 1st, in order to kind of bring forward proposed zoning amendments for potential sponsorship. From that meeting, I received some comments about possible corrections, some things that look into, some things that, maybe to hold off on. I'm hoping to meet again with the planning board on January 5th to finalize and at least receive sponsorship to be going on the Springtown meeting warrant for these articles. From there, it follows the standard regulatory process in terms of having to have a public hearing and going to town meeting. So that's, I guess, where those stand right now. In terms of the EDC's impact on these, some of them, I feel, do kind of correspond to economic development and growth. And actually, really, they kind of all do. They're fairly straightforward in terms of zoning go. Nothing really breaking the mold here in terms of a drastic change, but a few I'd like to kind of just highlight in particular would be parking reductions within the central business district for
Question about that.
residential. Yeah,
1 and 1A seem contradictory. So, one says you have
These
2
circle
parking
together.
spaces for each accommodated on the premises. And then 1A says you could have 1 parking space for a studio, which contradicts the 2-spot limit above, and a 1-bedroom dwelling unit.
so the parking, that's a parking table, so those numbers highlight different uses. So the 1A would only be affiliated with residential development within the central business district. The other, one is the existing parking, I guess, grade for residential uses, and it's a standard 2 dwelling spaces per unit, which is throughout the town, both within the downtown and any residential district or any district that has housing. Adding 1A allows for a scaled parking reduction within the central business district only, and it's related back to the table of use regulation where it specifically calls out mixed use within the central business district.
I see.
So the rationale behind that is really just to do with the fact that the central business district has access to public transit. Many projects that have come before the town, such as, Liberty Station and Union West, have all sought parking reductions, looking at limited space in general, and you, just in terms of the size of the parcels, but you're also looking at part of the reason why development occurs in a downtown or a transit-oriented location, a location that has a train station or access to the bus, is people have that option to commute from work,
Got it,
so.
yeah. So I see, so it's not, you put 1A below in the next line down the zoning table, and that's a separate, only relates to 1A.
Yeah, that's just how it's written, just explain what's around it. But what's highlighted, or not highlighted really, what's underlined is what would be inserted,
Yeah.
so what's not right there.
I agree with the other ones. I agree with the setback rules on highway business, the increase in
Raising the height.
garage, and residential, the 3-family and the 2-families, going to allowed,
By right,
right, yeah.
okay.
And obviously, the soil the soil, I agree with that as well, because there was a lot of planning board issues on, no matter what project you did, they would ask if you're removing soil, and it was, it was irrelevant to the project, doesn't matter. If you're building a house, you can take a truckload of soil off the foundation, and that held up a lot of projects just going because of the board. So I like this new one where,
Yeah, that's section 5D of the zoning bylaws dealing with earth removal. The way it's written right now is, the uses that are permitted, it over-explains residential in terms of both the 100 cubic, anything less than 100 cubic yards, but then it's also 1-foot grade chains, 10% of the location.
too much, I
It
agree.
doesn't also transfer itself to special permits required, so it displays 3 different thresholds of what you need to meet for what's allowed, but then the special permit required only focuses on the cubic.
it held up the planning board too much. That's the
Yeah,
short answer.
so increasing the threshold and kind of just simplifying the language, that'd be a little more direct.
Really, I
Okay.
like them all.
All right.
That was my only clarification was the parking one. I didn't understand it, but I read it wrong.
And these are just being proposed for Springtown meeting.
Correct, so right now, how the process would work in terms of getting on the warrant, being a zoning article, I would prefer to go through the planning board for sponsorship, being that it falls more or less within their jurisdiction. You could also go through sponsorship through the select
Town
board, you
meeting.
could have a citizen petition, but.
I
What is
think
it?
town meeting will allow the 3 families by right in general residence?
So,
You'd think that, really?
I do.
the reason, that is, and, I think having the additional requirement built into the bylaw that the town already has indicates that you need a larger lot for the 3-family use. So they have that, basically, I think it's section I, so it's 5-B.1.3, .D, and then there's that provision I, where you essentially need to be connected to town sewer, and you need to have at least 30,000 square foot for a buildable lot for 3-family use. In the general residence zoning district, 15,000 square feet is the minimum. So, could certainly have a debate whether or not, you can go below 30,000 for a 3-family, but I think the fact that the town already allowed, or at least already added additional requirements for a 3-family,
Yeah.
the threshold for that use is still a higher bar, because you need to have the land area to do so.
There's no other town meetings in like Norway, they fight it.
Fighting a 3-family by
It's
right?
funny, from going from 1 to 2 wasn't a big deal, from 2 to 3 was a big deal.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, at this stage, really, it's just mostly about getting on the
We'll see, time
warrant.
will tell, right?
Yeah, I mean, getting it on the warrant is the first step, and then obviously there's the public hearing portion of the process before going to town meeting, so that will hopefully bring back more feedback,
When
with
does the
town.
warrant close for spring?
January 10th?
Does a 3-family, I mean, I know what a 3-family looks like in Norwood, like I've got one of those, right?
Yep.
But does a 3-family also include 3 units on one piece of property that are like separate? I know you like
Detached?
those. Yeah, detached, like you like those, what do you call them, block properties or?
Technically, a 3-family is all
Yeah.
attached.
Right.
3-family,
But
yeah.
you know the ones that have gone up on like,
Home Street?
Minna Pond, huh?
Well, Those would be like multiple buildings on a lot.
Right.
Like a PUD settlement kind of?
Smaller, like they've just been looking at, remember there was a couple that had to go through the planning board, Mark?
Merry Christmas. We good.
We still have one with if Kevin leaves?
You have a quorum of Kevin Lees, yeah. It was 7.
Remember there was a couple that went up, and then there was conversations in the planning board as far as allowing multi-units.
Stone Street was something
Stone Street, yeah.
that they put through, and I don't
Good holiday.
remember the specifics. I know there was some opposition to it, but they're there, so.
And you were talking about how you like that.
I like it because I think it
And
moves into the future of more dense housing without making it look like 20-unit apartment buildings.
Right,
you
like
know?
the 40B stuff.
Right. Well, 40B is a weird term because 40B, I don't want to get down that rabbit hole, but the fact is a 40B apartment building that's a 40B can still be every bit as nice as any apartment building anywhere. It just matters what they're getting for the rents, for a percentage of their units. So I think we need to start to look at and interpret the phrase 40B a little bit differently, because I think that there might be some ways to make it happen in the future that presents itself better without it having such a negative connotation. But again, that's just on the physical aspect of it. The fact that the town doesn't have a lot of say is a problem. So again, I don't want to get on that rabbit hole, but
Oh, but my question was, 3 units on one property versus your classic 3-family, is that the same? Is that
I
the
don't
same
know the
thing?
answer to
So
that.
there is separate zoning when you have multiple buildings on
Sarah
a
would know
property.
that.
Hi, putting on my planning board hat. Sarah Katib, Planning Board. Yeah, that's a separate section. And if anyone is interested, I have comments on all 10 of these articles on my Facebook page, so you can look at that.
It just
There
seems
is,
like,
yeah, there is different criteria within the zoning bylaws. I think it's under section 6C, which goes into having multiple dwellings.
if you were to do that, then you're
Detached
saying
buildings.
you'd probably have to do 2 parking spots for each unit on that whole property.
Yeah, theoretically, yeah.
I'm just worried
No,
about the fact,
two-
because
you'd-
Two per,
we start to,
2 per unit.
Yeah.
You'd need 2
correct,
per unit.
2 per unit.
Yeah.
Like
So you
6
need a
parking
total
lot
of
per
6.
person, yeah.
yep.
So if that, because I'm just thinking, I think that's a little bit of the future of Walpole. As they start knocking down all these older homes and the seniors can't afford to live here anymore, rather than putting up McMansions, maybe you're offering 3 units that are more affordable for people.
And that's really kind of,
Whether or not that, it limits people though, or limits that because of the parking issue.
it limits people because of the parking issue. So,
Because right now, if you're gonna
Yeah.
put three building structures on one lot, you only can put, per this law, what? How many is it, you're allowed, if you.
so
put-
under the parking table for 1, if it's gonna be a use that's outside, I guess, in theory, out of the central business district, if that,
This is just for the CBD,
yeah, 1A is just for the CBD.
right?
Because of the access to transit and usually have a higher
You're right.
density
One
build out.
is,
Because
which
the
would be
deals
general
we had to
residence,
work
is
with
2
Union
unit,
West
2
and
residents, 2 spots per unit.
They
So if a
let
3-family
the
went up
tail
out to
wag
the
the dog on
CBD,
that
you're
one.
right, we need 6 spots.
But right now, you can't put a 3-family in the CBD.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Can
the
I just say
CBD, you
one
said?
BD.
thing
Put 192 families.
related to economic development? To your point about special permits cost a lot of money, they take a lot of time.
Great.
And it drives up the cost of doing business and providing housing. So I really think as a town, we ought to, really think carefully about what kind of projects require special permit. And if it's just like a standard, doing business, we don't need to ask applicants to go through a special permit. That's my feeling. So this, allowing 3-family, 2-family by right, that's, basically taking out the special permit. Like the whatever developer still has to comply with the zoning and meet with the building department and do all that stuff. It just kind of takes some of that expense and burden away. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm in favor of it.
And part of the reason too, I guess, why at least from my thinking, why the removal of a special permit and allowing it by right is a little bit easier to swallow is it's already further regulated by the fact that we have it within the zoning currently, that it needs additional square footage on the lot to account for the additional dwelling units, as well as needs to be connected to town sewer. I mean, most of the general residence is on town sewer, so that's kind of a, I won't say I know exactly where all the sewer is, but, I think that threshold already being built into the zoning, to me, makes it even more palatable, because it's not like people need to worry about a smaller lot in the general residence all of a sudden getting a 3-family by right. It would be prohibitive because there's that requirement. One, that it needs, any general residence lot would need 15,000 square feet to be developed for a single-family use. But for the 2 and the 3, there's the additional square footage requirement already built into the zoning. So it really just kind of eliminates the process of needing to get a special permit, but still having restrictions on preventing the use from maybe being utilized on lots that may not be the most
Suitable.
suitable. Thank you.
But what you have to be careful of is those new dimensional requirements making it moot. If you want to put a 3-family by right, but you can't find a 30,000 square foot lot anywhere in East Walpole, general residence, what are you gonna do? So it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're making this by right, but we don't have any inventory that you could ever do it, but we're still gonna make it by right.
There's a lot.
Initially,
I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, you go to Somerville, you have 3-family, 10,000 square feet, and you have 6 people living there. I'm not saying we should be Somerville, but I'm also not saying that it's appropriate that you would want 2/3 of an acre, 3/4 of an acre for a 3-family when
the use
I don't
may
know.
work on a smaller
in East
lot.
Walpole, it seems like,
You gotta
Something
balance,
like
so
that would be
you're going
appropriate.
to town meeting, so you gotta balance how much to ask for. I think the way the bylaw is written, I agree, I like it. I think it's good, because if you ask for too much, you get voted down.
I agree. I'm not saying I dislike it. I'm saying that
So,
in my short time on planning board, a lot of people write things that sound good, and then you dig in and you read the dimensions on, and you realize that nothing can ever get built, you
Because
know?
it can't go to town meeting.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So I just, again, I haven't read it close enough to understand what it all means, but
yeah, I mean, you do bring up a good point, and part of that was obviously being able to speak to the planning board at the last time to kind of hear some of the feedback, because one of the initial proposals with both the 2 and 3-family change was to add a second line item, basically a II underneath that I provision, where the use could be sought for with a special permit on a smaller property in terms of square footage. So allowing the current use with the higher square footage by right, but allowing for the use on lots of a smaller square footage through a special permit, because at least that would
so
open
the
up the
mechanism is still
potential.
there.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go that route.
Yeah.
They're not completely eliminating that possibility.
Correct, but to John's point, some of the feedback I got was contrary to having that on. And so obviously I'm thinking of, what as John mentioned, what's kind of a kind of a halfway option that is palatable at first, and then, would I like to see that option added? Sure, and I think, in time will tell, maybe that'd be something that can be provided or suggested, down the line, but, I certainly, was receptive of the feedback that I got from the planning board, because ultimately, having them sponsor it to get on the warrant is
Yeah.
the
Was
first
this-
step. to
Were
getting
these
there.
changes drafted by the planning board?
No,
By you?
yes, and the building commissioner, so a lot of
I'm
these.
just wondering
all
how
these-
many, like on the 2-family one, how many
applicable parcels are there?
Well, how many parcels would these new dimensions make non-conforming?
So we looked at assessing information and GIS information to kind of like analyze, look at where the general residence zoning district is, and be able to kind of break down the parcel size about what would fall under each one. I don't have the actual number in my head, but we've already kind of taken a step, me and Jim Crawley, in terms of looking at what actually would be impacted by this, or how many parcels are meet the size requirements currently.
Look, you could drive down Stone Street, and I know there's a couple of newer, it's funny to say newer in New England, because
Yeah.
they still could be 30 years old, but every other house is 150 years old, so, but newer two families that are on less than 20,000 square feet, that would immediately become non-conforming, right? If they,
It's not a CBD though.
No.
oh, this is
No, no,
only,
no, so if you're saying that if, when I guess I would have to find the address to see what
yeah,
it is,
I
but
can't think of the
in a
address off the top of
situation,
my
yeah,
head.
so if that is a two-family on a 20,000 square foot lot,
That's allowed.
then it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, but you're still allowed to keep that
This
home.
zoning bylaw is not gonna expand any nonconformities, how I read it.
Yeah.
Do you see that too that way? It's not gonna expand any current nonconformities. So if you're conforming now, it's not gonna make you nonconforming. If you're nonconforming now, it's not gonna expand the nonconformity.
Okay,
I read it that way, but maybe I missed something.
so if there's a two-family now in that zone,
If it's nonconforming,
that's not on a 20,000 square foot lot, if I'm reading it right, if I'm
I don't
understanding.
have it in
No,
front of
'cause
me.
that zoning, that language, that's nothing
not
new that I'm
changed.
proposing. I'm just changing it from special permit to by right.
Correct.
So that use,
So
that
the
house
zoning
is
is already
already.
there.
Correct.
We're just making it by right as opposed to having to go through the whole stupid special permit process, okay, all right, I get it.
Keep
All right,
us
sorry
out of
about that. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. All right, so do we need any action on this, or? this
No,
is
I
just
mean,
discussion?
really just, I wanted to kind of bring it forward because we never had that discussion in July.
No,
and-
very, I like the amendments.
Good.
Very good, Pat.
I think if it gets to the point of a public hearing and/or town meeting, and if you all think something is important, it would be good to have support.
I love the highway business one. I know I'm on highway business, but the current way it is wastes so much land with
Yeah.
the setbacks the way they are. It's just such a waste of land. So,
Yeah.
I would even go less, but I know, like I said, go to town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the height as well in
Height is
terms
the-
of,
height is
that's,
the key on Route 1.
that's the one location, that, I think the height makes sense to be a little higher.
Totally.
But even so, the change is what, 5 stories is still the highest, 55 feet?
So, yeah, I mean, the way I discussed it with, both Jim Crowley, is just, there's a different threshold that kicks in once you go above, I think it's 65 or 70 feet.
Yeah, you go
It has to
control,
do- it has to
control
do with-
construction, and it's like steel, you go from wood to steel, and you either go to like 6 stories or 5 stories, or you go to like 20 stories. That in between doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and from a, public safety standpoint too, I mean, you start to not have the apparatuses to reach a certain level.
Yeah, so what, I mean, there's no apparatus in Boston that's gonna reach above 6 stories anyway.
Sure.
So, what I'm
point.
saying is, well, how many hotels has it already killed, that height restriction on Route 1? 2 that I know, 2 projects that I know.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Mark.
You know, what's the difference? It's Route 1.
That's right, I agree with you.
That's where you want the height.
That's where you want the height.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, right now,
Right now, the highest allowable is downtown. Does that make any sense?
52 feet.
I mean, that's a good height for
Probably
a downtown,
51 and a
5
half feet
stories.
now, because the building I live in is sinking faster than they can stop it from doing so. Believe me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The door that goes into my balcony at Union and West, I gotta put my shoulder into that just to open it, because the whole corner is just going like this. Great.
Do we need anything to vote on? Because I have to go. Sorry, it's,
What?
Christmas is like on Sunday.
I'm with you.
We have a long
probably
meeting
adjourn.
tonight.
I know.
Are we good?
Good night.
Good.
All right, listen, before we adjourn, I just want to say that longtime member, Ken Fettig, lost his wife about a month ago, and I just wanted to say on the record that the Economic Development in the entire town of Walpole really loves and respects Ken, and for all the time that he's put in for the town of Walpole and for these various committees that he's sat on, and that we're all thinking of him and praying for him, and, his wife of over 60 years. So, quite a guy, and just want him to know that everybody's thinking of him on this committee anyway. And I know it rings the same throughout town hall, so I wanted to make
Second.
sure that got on the record.
Last question. Deno, is Friends of St. Patrick having it this year at the old place that they always have?
No, this year's Friends of St. Patrick's going to be at 4 Point Sheraton in Norwood.
There's room.
The Lakeview Ballroom, the Lake Pearl Rentham tore apart their dance floor, or their main ballroom, and weren't able to get it back together in time.
Because we haven't, did we have it last year?
Yes,
At
last
the
year was,
Floodway?
no, it
The
was,
old place?
no, it was at Lake Pearl last year.
Oh, that's right, that was it, okay. so that's where it was.
We'll be back
Not
at
even
Lake
going
Pearl
forward.
next year, but this upcoming one in '23 is at 4 Point Sheridan.
Maybe
That's
that one for
4
the,
Points is a nice room.
maybe that's, the-
Smaller room for us is
we
the
need the
problem.
backup space for the business forum
Oh, no, it's 500.
rather than the country club.
It's small, man.
In Norwood, though?
Lake Pearl's small, I mean,
Walpole Business Forum in Norwood, I don't know.
And 4 Points is 500.
And lastly, Mark, if you Google drunkest cities in Massachusetts, Walpole is number 4. We had Plymouth,
Clinton, number
Situate,
one?
and Salem. Huh?
Salem's number 1?
Plymouth, Situate, Salem,
But
and
you
then
didn't say
Walpole.
drunkest, you said most bar rooms per capita.
I think that might be the case, too.
No, I think Clinton runs that one, but anyway, all right.
motion to adjourn?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, abstained, no, okay, good.
All right, everybody.